So the first item today is unveiling of the conference newsletter. Kiranmayee has passed on the baton to me because it is Kiranmayee's wedding anniversary today. So she has gone to the temple. She's just finished the newsletter work and she said she cannot wait anymore. I said, you could have given us a call from directly from the temple. We could have got direct blessings. But she said network and all will be an issue. So I'll be doing the honors on behalf of Kiranmayee. So please let me know once you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can, Rajib.
Okay, so at the unveiling, please clap. Wait, not now. So once again, thanks to this team who has put together the newsletter. Okay, be ready for the claps now.
Okay.
Everybody unmute, please.
Yay.
All right, that's about it. This is how the newsletter looks like. Are you able to see my screen still?
Yes.
Beautiful. Yes, yes.
Yeah, all right. So I'll be soon making it available through all the medias, and Partho will also share it in the site. All right. So happy reading, and let's get back to our sessions now. Nibu, I invite you to start with the competition sections.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep, absolutely. All yours. Thank you.
Okay. So this year the competition was a little different. You must have seen on Facebook what the competition was, and we have also announced the winners. So once again, the winners are for the first pollination round, it is Gayathri Jaishankar from Informatica and Prema Ramkrishnan from HCL. Chatterjee and Ravi from Rahi Systems. So big round of applause to the winners, and they've already won their prizes. I guess they have attended the conference. That was a prize. Yeah, I just wanted to add here, that the general response not only to competition but even to the call for papers is, I think, very disappointing. So what happens when these events are run by volunteers, right? And so what happens when the interest goes down? These events will collapse, right? So this is, I think, food for thought. You see, the STC used to conduct a 2-day conference plus a pre-conference, but this can be done, and it was multiple tracks, right? So if you're looking at, of course, you had some terrific sessions, right? But it's just one track that's running. So I think this is food for thought. People have to think about, the community. What have I done for the community? What can I do? Because every day I receive, applications from technical writers, and the applications are the same, right? They have created user guides, they have created admin guides, and that's all there is. How do you differentiate yourself when you're comparing yourself to the competition, right? And we heard Sachin say, right, they're not hiring laterally. So what happens to people with 7-8 years experience? There are no positions for you all. Even Edwin mentioned it in today's session, right? If you're not able to add value, we can hire a fresher and quickly train the person to do what you're doing. So don't miss these opportunities. When there is a competition, it is an opportunity to put something on your resume, right? And maybe Rajib has something more to say. Anindita, do you have anything else to say? Okay, great. And she was an excellent partner in crime, as usual. Well, yeah, that's all I had, and all the best. Thank you.
Anindita, are you going to say your part? No, not at all. Oh, you are. All right. Thanks, Nibu and Anindita. So definitely, when Nibu and I discussed about the idea behind the competition, we definitely wanted it to be something different, because we are anyway doing everything almost everything about this conference is, somewhere unique, somewhere different. So competition also we wanted to keep it different, and with Nibu and Anindita's skills and ideas, they took it to an entirely different league altogether. I never expected
You're
it
breaking
can
up,
turn out
Rajib.
to be this way. Sorry, was saying something? Yeah.
I
So
thought you were breaking up. Are you?
am I? Can you still hear me or
It may
no?
be a local problem to you, Nibu.
Yeah,
It may
we
be a
can
local
hear
problem
him.
for you because I think the delivery is fine. So it could be
All right.
localized. Please continue, Rajib.
Sure. So nothing much to add. Nibu has already covered, and the competition, the quality of the competition and the entries already have shown that this was definitely different. And although the participation was slightly lesser than expected, I thought people will be really excited to be part of such a competition. But whatever entries we got, that is still kind of a start for the community. And also we wanted our community to start thinking slightly differently, start taking some effort, and also collaborate across because we have a pan-India connect. So in virtual world now, everything is family, everything is connected, everyone is a family member. So I said we should do more such outreach to get the best out of it. Otherwise, we will not be able to have an unique identity in STC worldwide. And in STC, India has been always kind of a front runner in doing many things uniquely. So thanks for showing us the way, Nibu and Anindita. So yeah, that's about it. So if you do not have anything, then we move on to the most exciting part of one of the most exciting part of the conference, the STC India Salary Survey results. Paresh, over to you.
Paresh, you need to unmute yourself, please.
Thanks, Rajib. Let me share my screen and then we get started. Let me know once you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, you can see the
Perfect.
screen.
All right. So thanks to the STC Admin Council, the conference manager, everybody, that we had another round of salary survey this year as well. And it was a pleasure to conduct this survey, and I'm very happy to present the report in front of you now. Those who are attending, you don't need to make any notes or don't need to take screen captures or anything. The survey will be available to all of you for downloading as soon as Monday. Partha is just uploading as we speak. And once he's done, I'll share the links in the same forums where I invited you to participate. So I'm going to cover the impact of multiple factors that we thought have an impact on salary. This year, we asked a lot more questions than usual based on the feedback that we received in the conference last year at Chennai. Apart from the experience, location, and age, what kind of company do you work? What is your performance? What kind of work do you do? How many engineers do you support? Which industry do you work? Do you know freelancing, etc.? And we also ask a couple questions about whether you're happy with the salary, whether it's really reflecting the kind of salary you get, and most importantly, given the pandemic, has that impacted the salary levels or overall job situation? So those were some of the 14 questions that we asked in the survey. The survey was open from the 2nd November to 20th November. And this year we got about 469, 470 responses. I had to scrap 3 to 4 responses because they were junk data, but most of the other data was very respectable. So I've covered 466 responses as valid responses for all this analysis. So let me jump into the findings. I would ask all of you to keep your questions for the end. The biggest question on top of everybody's head is, what's happening because of pandemic to the salaries? Almost half of the population has not seen any impact. And at the worst end of it, 4% people have actually seen a job loss. And then 6% people had a salary cut they had to pay for, they had to work for lower pay. About 10% people did not get any increment this year, and about 25% people, the impact was on their bonuses. Either the bonus was delayed, reduced, or it was completely cancelled. So there was just a fixed pay and no variable pay this year. So all in all, if you compare with some of the other professions, I think we in technical writing are relatively, you know, less impacted because of the pandemic. Imagine you being a chef in a five-star hotel or a pilot in an airline. We definitely are much more lucky than this picture says all of that. The next one biggest factor that impacts the salary is experience. As you can see, expectedly with the experience, the salary is seen growing. People enter around 5 lakhs, and we see up to 30 lakhs in the 19 plus years range. This one is the median salary. This is not the highest or lowest salary. There were about 9 to 10 people who reported their salaries higher than 50 lakhs this year. So that's the top end. If you say 10%, top 10% of the highest experience range is about 8 to 9 people who have more than 50, but the median salary is about 30. If you compare the salaries based on the per year of experience, like, typically if people ask me, don't give me all the factors, just give me a thumb rule about how do I find quickly my salary given the years of experience, this number still remains to be 1.5 even this year. So basically what it says is, on an average, if you have 10 years of experience, typical average salary is 15 lakhs. So 1.5 lakhs per year of experience. Of course, it varies based on all the other factors, but if you don't want to depends as an answer and an actual number, then 1.5 is the number from this curve that you can see. So this is the actual data where we have divided the salary reported by the years of experience. As you can see in the initial period, because you're dividing by 1 or less than 1, you'll see a high number. But that growth doesn't continue, right? Once you can't say in my first years of experience I had 4 lakhs, or 10 years makes 40 lakhs. That doesn't happen. So you'd see the curve stabilizing at 1.5 later in the career. Then the location, yeah, this time we had the highest response from Bangalore, like every year, followed by Pune. And you can see the salary per year of experience in different cities. This is also very similar to what we have been observing, Chennai, Mumbai being at the lowest end of the spectrum. NCR, Bangalore, Pune are the highest paying cities in India. But this year we had asked another question, and this kind of explains this disparity. Let me get into that. We had asked whether you work for a services company or a product company, right? Services companies or companies like Infosys, Wipro, Savage, who work for other customers and do projects for them. Product companies or product companies who have their own product and sell to the end users. A large majority of the people, about 80% of the people were from the product companies, and about 21% or 20% were from the services company. And you can see a drastic difference in the salary levels. The product companies are paying almost 40% higher than the services companies for the same level of experience, right? And if I go back and check my data about how the respondents were from different cities in which type of companies they're working. For example, in Chennai, almost 40% respondents were in services companies. In Hyderabad, less than 75. In Pune, the average India we saw about 2179 was the division, right? In Pune, that was exactly same. In Bangalore, more than 80%, and in NCR, highest percent of the people were from the product companies. And now, if you juxtaposition this against the numbers that we saw in each city, you will see the mystery is resolved, kind of thing, right? All the cities where there is a larger population working in the services companies has a lesser salary level compared to the cities. If you see, NCR has the highest population in product companies and also has the highest salary level. So that kind of explains why we have been seeing this disparity. It's kind of a revealing factor based on the questions this year. Let me jump into the other important factors that determine the salary. Obviously, the kind of work that you do also is an important determiner. More than half of the people were the individual contributors or people who had full-time writing as their responsibility. So average experience ranged to be 10 years and their salary was 15 lakhs, 23,000. There were another 40% people who had writing as well as additionally supervising some other writers in their team as a responsibility. So writing was still part of their job. Obviously, their experience was higher than the individual contributors and their salary was also higher. And a small portion of people who are full-time supervisors, managers, leaders in the technical documentation teams. Uh, Average experience has been 18 years and their salary has been 34, 35 lakhs. So based on what kind of role you're performing, the salary also changes. Another question that we asked this time was, uh, what is your performance rating typically, right? You can't answer with one data point, but we said typically what has been your performance rating. I don't know whether we have a bias in the respondents or whether people were not honest, but you see, only 1% of the people, or less than 1%, said their average rating has been below average typically or mostly below average, right? That actually goes against the definition of average. When you say average, 50% of people should be below, right? But let's assume, let's trust our respondents, and let's assume most of the people who were responding to the survey were great performance in their companies, right? Now, if you take it further from there, even within that, there are three, right? Mostly average, generally between average and above average, and mostly above average. And you can very clearly see how the performance space. The people who said their performance rating has been mostly always above average, their salary is about 1.8 lakhs per annum of experience, whereas people who have average ratings typically have 1.5 lakhs, right? So performance space, basically that's the message of this slide. And you'll see half of the population is toggling between these two. And obviously I didn't have calculated the below average because there's only 1 in 4 people, but you have all the data in the actual report. You can also see the actual tables in the report when you download, apart from these graphs that I'm showing, and some more data which I'm just not covering in the highlights. Another key question that we asked this time was the responsibility to do developer documentation. Basically, do you do complex work, and because of that, do you earn more? Right. So API documentation, SDKs or developer portal, etc. Um, there is a very small population in India which gets to do that as their full-time job, and they get rewarded proportionately higher, right? And there's a almost, you see, 1.6 and 2.1. That is the ratio of people who don't do any developer documentation. And then there is a large population which does the API documentation as a small part of their job, not a full-time job, but their pay is also higher. So it tells you that if you have that skill, it does pay you better compared to people who don't have that skill or don't have that responsibility. Another question that typically keeps coming in a lot of technical communication discussions, this is a question that all the managers ask each other in every conference that they meet is, what is your writer to engineers ratio? Because then they can go back and justify to their managers, like, we have 1,000 engineers, so proportionally I should have this many writers because this is the industry standard. And we didn't have a recent standard data. So we asked this question this time, and you can see the average ratio is about 1:29, 1:30. So if there are 29 engineers, there's one writer. That has been the average. There are some companies where the number is 10, 15. There are companies where there's 50, but on an average, it was 29. If I take the median, it is 20. There is a difference between what you call median and average. Average is add all of them, divide by the total count. Median is stack all of them in an increasing order, pick the middle one, right? A quick short definition between these two. So median is used when you have a large disparity in data, which is true. So I use median, which is 20. Right? A respectable number. I was worried it is probably worse, but it is still 20, around 20 engineers are supported by one writer. That's the typical number that we see. And again, another question that is that a lot of people were curious about is which domain do I work? Where do most technical writers come from and where they get paid well? Most of the respondents, as expected, were in the software domain. Almost 67% of the people were in software domain. And then there were 20% in the other domains. This includes, energy, banking, and procurement, all sorts of. It's a hodgepodge. If I see, there was almost 83 unique responses in this other thing. But if you see some of the other things that we typically come across, like aeronautics, manufacturing, hardware, those are anywhere between 3 to 5% of the population. Which sector pays highest? Software. So stay in software if you are in, otherwise jump into that. So this is all types of software, right? I mean, it may be a software for banking, it may be software for pharma, but it is still software. And that industry pays higher than aeronautics, manufacturing, and quickly followed by semiconductor and sorts of hardware and electronics industry segment. So that is another data point that I think you'll find useful. We also saw different team structures. We asked people what kind of team structure do you have, and we realized that lone writers get paid a lot more. But of course, this data, when I see for the overall actual salary, this salary stops after certain years of experience. So that means for the junior writers, you get a lot more if you're working individually. But as you grow, the teams where there's a central team of writers in a company pays you higher compared to any company where it's a large company, but the writers are part of individual teams, is not as lucrative. So basically, if you work in a centralized big company, big team in a big company, um, you have an advantage compared to companies where writers are not part of a central pool. And you can see the distribution also here. About 37% of the respondents did work in such kind of companies, and only 12% people are lone writers. I hope this all information is useful for us also to design our upcoming sessions, right? What kind of audience we have, what kind of topics would interest them, etc. So there's a lot of use to all this data that we've gathered this year. We also asked what is the size of the total company, I mean, total organization that you work with. And we realized that smaller companies, again, it's like the lone writer startup type of companies, pay more compared to bigger companies. But once you grow in your career, the sweet spot is between 1,000 to 10,000. That kind of size of the organization is where you get more compared to smaller, mid-sized, or very large companies, right? And so that's just the data. I don't want to rationalize it or add my logic to it, but this is what the data is saying. Another question that comes is, how many people do freelancing in my industry? Because at some point or the other, everybody thinks, I just want to get out of this kind of job and do freelancing. So they're always curious. But it's a very small population. At least in the respondents, we saw only 1% people, so about 5 people in 469. So you take this data with a pinch of salt because it's only 5 as a base, doesn't really give you a lot. But amongst those 5, the median hourly rate was around 700 rupees per hour, and they were all pretty experienced. The median experience range was about 13 and a half years. So that's about freelancers. And then we finally asked also, are you happy with your salary? Are you happy with what you get? And you know what? Most of us are happy. If you see 17 and 5, this is the dissatisfied number. So about 19%. Otherwise, 80 to 81% people are not happy. That means either they're neutral or they're happy or they're satisfied with their salary. And then I checked those people who are not happy, how much are they getting? And those people who are, very satisfied, how much are they getting? It exactly falls into place. I mean, there's no surprise there. Those people who are earning more are really happy. So there's no, guessing or there's no unnecessary dissatisfaction. There's a reason why these people are not happy, because you see almost half of what the people who are very happy, they're getting almost half. So they have a reason for not at all being satisfied. And you can see we just started the session saying, 1.5 is the typical average. People who are getting average salary, they're neutral. People who are getting above average, 1.5 per year of experience, they are they're a little more satisfied than people who are getting below that average, right? So this all falls in line, which also kind of validates the sanity of the data, right? So that was one of the last questions, and then quickly let me cover the trends. I mean, this was all this year's data. How does it compare with our past data, right? If you see last year's data and I plot this year's data against this, the average salary has increased by about 13%. The median salary has increased by about 22%. Take this with a pinch of salt, because this is a sample size about 450, 470 people, right? If we have bigger sample size, I'll have more confidence into this, because it's possible that people who responded the last year, almost the same pool is responding, and so they, the salaries. But this is the median salary as a country. If you ask, what do typical technical writers get without giving any data? What is the typical median salary in India? You would say about 16 lakhs, and last year it was 13 lakhs, 13 lakhs 10,000. So it has grown in spite of the pandemic. And this salary has been increasing, right? In 18 years back, this median salary, which is 16 lakh now, was 2.5 lakhs or 3 lakhs. So over year, this is increasing, which obviously has to. And if I compare that with finally the US salaries, we still have a lot more advantage. We have almost 1/3 of the US salaries. There was a fear that at some point this curve will take over and we won't have the cost advantage. At least that point hasn't happened now, doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon. US also has grown in the last couple of years, but not obviously at the same rate, but it is growing, and India is also growing. So India is still, it is 1/3 to 1/4 of the Indian US salaries. So that was all that I had to present today. Um, thank you. As I said, this report with a lot more data in it. I just covered highlights. Will be available. Partha is working on setting up the distribution mechanism. As soon as Monday, we will send it to you. So with that, I'm open for any questions. Okay, looks like there are none. So thank you. Back to you, Rajib.
Hi, Paresh. I guess, folks, if you have any questions, you can put it on the chat, then we'll take from there.
Yeah, I see some.
There are a few questions in chat. Would you like me to read it out?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So one question is from Anju, like, does the hardware sector pay more than the software sector?
Almost same, not more or less. I would say if you go back, let me just bring up that slide. Am I still sharing my slide? Are you still able to see the slides?
Yes, it's still.
Okay, perfect. So you see here, not much difference. It's almost exactly the same. Hardware is 1.84. This is 1.81. These small differences I'll always take a pinch of with a pinch of salt. Like, one more data point and this will tilt, but it's not as big as aeronautics versus software. I would say, yeah, hardware pays slightly more for all practical purpose. You can say same.
All right. Another question is from Ram is, do you plan to provide comparative analysis with any other countries?
At present, no, because that data has to be available for us to compare it. We are not going to go and survey people in US or in Canada or in Australia, right? US has a great government database called US Department of Labor Statistics, Bureau of Labor Statistics. I go to their website every year. They tell me what is the total number of technical writers available in the country, how many new jobs and what is. So that's where I get the data from. But that's a great suggestion. Let me look at if there are such
I'm
official
sure.
numbers,
I'm
and I
sure,
will
Paresh, there'll be
present.
a lot of open data that is available, and probably we can actually use a
Yeah,
lot of our search metrics to actually build that for future.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I avoid is getting from things like Naukri.com and PayScale, because a lot of that data is stale, right? Think of us, out of all us who are attending, when was the last time you went and updated your salary data on Naukri.com? So I look at the freshness of the data. But of course, just like US Department of Bureau for Labor Statistics, there are official agencies, or if STC chapters of those countries are doing this, I'll look for it. That's a great suggestion. I take that as an input for the next year. And wherever that data is available, we'll provide a comparison. Largely, the growth of Indian software industry and the technical writing profession is fueled by the original jobs in the US. So that's why we continue to compare with that.
Another point of comparison that you could actually build, Paresh, and maybe I don't know this, I could be shooting through, is that the more developing countries that US typically outsource to,
Yeah.
because a lot of these jobs are coming to like the BRIC nations, and now even come like Southeast Asian nations like
Yes.
Philippines,
Yes. Yes.
Malaysia. You're seeing a lot of outsourcing going there as well. So
Yep.
maybe looking for data from those areas would probably be more pertinent.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Makes
that may
sense.
be something worth looking at.
Yes. Makes sense. Yep.
Awesome session. Thank you very much, Rajib. Did I miss any questions? Does anybody else have any questions?
No, I guess
Oh
you
yeah,
have
there's
covered all.
a couple in Q&A. Biswajit asks, going by these statistics, will the opportunities of salary growth be slower in service-based companies in the future for experience over 10 years?
Looks like that is what the data is clearly saying, that if you are working in a services company, I can do a pivot just for experience. Like, I this is just an average data. But right now, what I see is services companies are paying less. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, Paresh, I mean, if you were to look at a larger sample size, I mean, if you had more time to actually go deeper, do you see these numbers moving in any direction dramatically, or is this kind of the median that has been noticed even without a sort of search?
Uh, when I compare with last few years, right? If you see here, we've been doing this since 2002. We don't see a drastic difference in the trends, right? If you see the rate of inflation and how the typical salaries have been increasing, if this data was wrong, this curve would have been all over the place, right? It is
Correct.
kind of around a trend. And that gives me a confidence that even if the sample size is small, we're not far too off. Let's see, in 2013, maybe we had some anomaly in the data.
Hmm.
Or 2017 was understandably a low year for a lot of industries, right? So this kind of is explained. This probably is an anomaly, but by and large, it is adhering to a trend. So I would think this is, I have fair amount of confidence in the data, even if it's a small sample size.
And then, of course, you have these off cases where startups are paying crazy amounts of money,
Yeah,
but they don't feature into these
yeah,
medians because they don't follow that median. Another
right.
question, do we have a data on the average increment in the last 5 years or so?
This is exactly where you are. So if you are in 2020, the median salary in 2015, right? It was around 10 lakhs and it has grown to 16 lakhs. So you can do the math. But this is the salary level. I haven't never asked people what was your increment in the last 1 year, right?
So like the
Um,
growth factor, maybe.
growth factor. Yeah. But the
That's
salary levels have increased from 10 lakhs to 16 lakhs. So that means 60% increase in the last 5 years, if that helps you in any way.
okay. Ashwini asks, what's the most sought out level of experience?
Most sought out.
Hmm.
We don't have most sought. I mean, we don't seek, right? We just ask people, what was your experience, right? And we see that. Let me just open the final report so I can show you where the most people had. Uh, this is my. So what did I do? Save as. I do just open. So this is the actual data. If you can see the experience, where are the most of the population is in 19 plus, 11 to 12, 10 to 11, right? This is the respondents right here. 10 to 12 years of experience is where we have a large population, followed by 13, 14, and 19 plus. We had very few juniors. I actually clubbed 0 to 1 and 0 to 1 to 2 this year because this was a small number. But this is just the respondents, right? Maybe just a bias in how we are reaching out and how many people are plugged into the channels that we reach out. But if you're asking me where most people were in terms of experience, this is the number that you can see.
No,
And this is available in the report to final
I,
download.
I think what she's probably asking for is in terms of jobs that are out there. Probably, I mean, this is just again
Oh,
my
okay.
assessment is what
So
is the
that's outside the purview of this survey because we just ask people's current status. We don't see the job ads. And
fair enough. Ashwini, I hope that is your question. If not, please clarify. We are happy to address it. One more question by Viswajit. What is the industry standard of hike in technical writing field in a job change? So I don't think he's asked for that data, right, Paresh?
I haven't asked, but I can tell you this, that there's no standard, right? We've seen in every graph, if there was a standard, all these graphs that we saw would have been exactly same, right? All these bars that you see would have been of the exact same
Correct.
length.
Correct.
There is a large variation in the pay raise that you get based on all these factors, right? What is your performance? What type of experience you have? What is the size of the company? What type of work do you do? Where do you live? What is the cost of living in that city, and so on and so forth. So I don't think it's not that we don't know. I don't think there's one standard that exists out there.
Another question that just popped in. Is there any correlation as to the type of documents, the job responsibilities that we work on? Seems
Type of,
open-ended.
can you repeat that question?
Yeah. Is there any correlation as to the type of documents, job responsibilities that we work on?
Yes, there is. So the job responsibilities in terms of whether you're just writing or you're doing supervision, the more you do supervision, the more responsibilities and risks you have in your job, the more you get paid. The type of writing, the more complex work do you do, the more you get paid. Right? Simpler work, UI documentation gets paid less compared to complex API type of documentation. See that here.
Okay, I'm going to pop into chat again to see if I've missed anything. Nope. No more questions. Oh, wait. Those who are getting over 50 lakhs, this is from Nidhi. Those who are getting over 50 lakhs, what is their role or type of company?
Well, all I can say is you can actually go into this salary data once you download the report. All I said was publicly available. You can't find a type of company directly because then it will be, sorry, which presentation? Yeah, this one. You can see here that most of the people above 50 lakhs is in that range of 19 plus. Right? So it's likely that their responsibilities are proportionally higher based on their experience. And as you go in the lower experience brackets, this is the top 10%. This is the median, 50% and 50 percentile. So this is top 10%. That means in the 54 population, 5 or more less people, the top 5 people are getting more than 50 lakhs. That's what it is. So you can find out the experience. Similarly, if you go to the other tables, you will find what are they doing in Pune, what is the top 10% people, and similarly in all the tables. Yeah.
Another question. I think we have maybe few more minutes. Another question is there any data around how many people join technical writing field from a non-technical background and what are the typical salaries?
No, we didn't ask that question. So we didn't ask the question about, what is your background? In the final report, I have a curve, which is a little bit of telling. This is the age. I didn't cover it because it's not much. I just wanted to keep it to few. You see here, after 50 years, typically as the age grows, the salary is increasing. But after 50 years, it is not. My guess is a lot of people who are above 50 did not start their career as technical writers. They probably have technical writing as their second career. So although their age is on the higher side, the relevant experience probably is around the people who have 30 years of age. Um, so that just tells you one data point that there are people who come from other backgrounds and start their career as a technical writer later in their life. But beyond that, whether their background was technical, non-technical, and how it impacted, we haven't asked that question. We had to do a balance of keeping it as short as possible, at the same time get some meaningful data.
Fantastic. Oh, wait, one more. I say fantastic, and then there's another question that pops in. Alpana says,
That will be the last question.
yeah, we'll just keep this
Yeah.
as the last one
Yep.
because we have to jump into the next session. So Alpana asked, does it take into consideration the career gap, if at all, we had for more number of years, in which case the age will be more and the salary will be less?
Excellent point. Yeah, it's possibly that as well, Alpana. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you very much, Paresh. I do appreciate your effort that's gone into this. Like he said, we'll put this up on the website. We're going to test it because we have to make sure that the system works before we send it out to you. But this will be available on the website for you all to download. And like Paresh said, he's going to ping all the different locations where he got this data. So thank you very much for doing this. And Rajib, over to you for the next session.
Thanks, Path.
Yeah, so we start the next session. Thanks, Paresh. As always, this was one of the best sessions with more people interested. Thanks for all your efforts. Yeah, the next session starts in almost 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
7:30 sharp.
So 15
7:30 is
14,
the session.
not 4014.
14, not 40. Sorry. Yeah.
Right.
14 minutes.
Yeah.
7:30 sharp we start. Okay, you can take a quick break because we have one of the most interesting session of the conference itself.
Sure. Thank you.